All right, I guess we're doing this on YouTube today. All right, so we are here. Hello, welcome back. Hold on, I'm gonna make sure my phone's on mute here. Get that out of the way, but I'm just gonna try to get this up here on, I guess, Discord. How do I do this? Can I start this? Yeah, start it now. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how to do this. Every time I do this, I know like something's gonna get like wacky on me. But today's the day. Okay.
That came spiritually while I was in South Africa and the Maldives.
All right, we're gonna do this here today. I don't know what's going on, but we're here. Thank you for hanging out. So we are making a delicious butternut squash pasta. This is gonna be freaking awesome, man. I'm really excited to do this. What I gotta do, first thing we gotta do is get our butternut squash done. Now, I got my butternut squash cubed already. So we're going to simply roast this kind of as we put everything else together here. Also, let me just, I want to put the link also on this other page so if other people see it, they can get on here. So give me 1 second. I apologize for the delay, but as tech usually goes, this is the way. Okay. So we're back. Okay, we're back. So very simple, salt and pepper. This is going to get us started. And we're going to roast this for about 20 minutes at 425. We want to get this tender because we're going to end up cooking this a little bit. And I got this big bag of black pepper. But we'll get it done. So a little bit of olive oil. I'm not going to add too many spices here because we're going to add this to our pasta. And I don't want it to get to kind of overpower what we're going to build with the pasta. So what we're going to do first is just give this a mix, give this a toss. Make sure everything's coated. Then we're going to pop this in our oven quickly. Okay, so I'm going to pop this in my oven. This is at 425. That's going to do that. Now in the interim, what we're also going to do is I have, if you can see here, the seeds from said squash. I didn't put them on a baking tray. I just had this out, but you could obviously use a baking tray. This is just a Pyrex dish. I'm going to toast these too because we're going to add these to our salad. So just a little bit of salt and pepper and a little bit of olive oil here too. And we're going to roast these. Now, I'm not going to roast these yet because these are only going to take like 5 minutes. But towards the end of the squash, I'm going to add this. And then we're going to roast them, toast them to kind of put them on top of our salad. So this we're going to put over here. And again, really quick, what we're going to do is in the background, I got a skillet here, which we're going to make our sauce in, but also I got a pot of water that's coming to a boil. Today, I'm using some chickpea spaghetti. That's going to be the pasta we're using. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so what I do need is a bowl because the first thing we're going to do as that roast is actually make a salad dressing. because, well, we're going to serve this with the salad. There we go. Hold on. I know that light is very bright. I think that's better. I'm going to keep that light off. Okay. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some lemon juice. So, we got our lemon here. And we're going to squeeze this down. And I finally got this, which is so funny. I was doing this for, what was I doing this? Everyone's been asking me, like, why do you always juice these with your hands? And I'm like, I just never had a citrus juicer until I got it for Diana's bridal shower. So even though these things are like $8-10, just never had one. But I like adding lemon as the base of a salad dressing. You can do this a variety of ways. It really is kind of up to you and the flavor profile you're trying to build. But this is the one that we're going to go with. So, and the key to really making a good dressing is finding balance. So, whether you want to make it a little sweet, if you want to make it a little rich, we're going to go for more of like a vinaigrette style. So we're actually going to add some mustard to add a little bit of that creaminess. Also going to add a little bit of tahini, which I have to grab a spoon for. And just get that off. Might add a little bit more. Also want to bring some herbs into this to like really round it out. So what I have here, what I will have in a second, is I have some dried oregano and some dried basil and some dried thyme. So going for like kind of like an Italian mix of herbs. I think this will go well kind of with this kind of warmer type of pasta dish that we're going with. So I got some dried basil. Got some dried oregano. And a little bit of dried thyme. And then what I want to add for a little bit of sweetness is some balsamic vinegar. And I think that'll go well because we're also using balsamic vinegar for our pasta, as you may know. Oh, and that balsamic vinegar. Thought it was here. So I actually have a bottle that's about done, so I might have to grab another one. I'm going to need a little bit more than that. Okay. So a little bit more. And there's actually like a local company that makes their own balsamic vinegar. And man, do I enjoy getting it from them. Like the key with balsamic vinegar is you got to get a thicker one, a good one, because there's so many ones. Like if you could get like the really like watery ones from the store, no good. I would just skip it, to be perfectly honest. Got to get a really good one. So a little bit of salt. We're going to whisk this one together. And we're not going to dress our salad, but we do have something. And actually, this will give us something to do here, kind of as we're going. So Gonna whisk this all together. You could blend this, but honestly, I don't want to take out the blender to do all this. So sometimes, especially for one day, I'll just do this all by hand. And depending on how smooth the tahini is you have, this will be either very simple or very long. But for me, this is going to be very quick. You could also use a whisk. But why do that? Why not make things a little bit more difficult, right? All right, so this, oh yeah, tahini. Honestly, I don't even really use oil when I make dressings. I just use tahini because it's a much, I'm going to have to turn on this light because I need it. It's a much better, I think. It gives like a richer flavor. Plus, it's more of like a whole food. Like if you're going to look at it from like a nutrition standpoint, I think tahini is a little bit better. Now, we got two things going on here. One is going to be boiling pasta water at some point. But we got our skillet, which is where we're going to make our sauce. I'll really kind of bring all this together. So what do I need here? Actually, that's going to heat up a little bit. So that's going to kind of come in a minute. I don't think this is hot yet, but we'll get there. But really, the key with this, as I just kind of rinse some of this stuff off, the key with this is to kind of get this sauce together, bring it together fairly quickly, and then as the squash finishes up, we're going to basically add it, toss it in with the pasta, well, not really, with the rest of the sauce, and then add that on top of our pasta. We're going to mix it probably in that pot. Now, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to save a little bit of that pasta water because we're really not making a sauce at all. Because if you notice, like our ingredients here, we got, what do we got? We got Shitake mushrooms, we got sun-dried tomatoes, we got garlic onion, cannellini beans, and the butternut squash. So what's really going to kind of hold it together and bring it together is a little bit of that pasta water, which we're going to get a little bit of like a starchiness from the pasta itself boiling. So if you're making a sauce that's either not very saucy or you're not sort of building one, a quick, like easy hack you can use is to actually just save some of that pasta water, and then it'll pretty much come together pretty well. So that, yeah, it's gonna be good, Angelina. I'm actually very excited for this. I know when I told Diana about it, she was very excited. So that's enough for me. Plus, we have a salad somewhere over there in the corner. It's literally just a bowl of arugula, but I'll add some stuff later. One of those things we're going to add, though, is these squash seeds. And one of the things I talk about all the time is, like, whenever you have a squash, pumpkin, whatever, is save the seeds. Even if you just, like, plain roast them in the oven, I think they're, like, one of the easiest ways to not only save money, but they are freaking delicious. And anytime you could roast nuts or seeds on your own and not from, like a store, if you buy them like pre-roasted or whatever, they're so much better. At least that's what I find. This ain't there yet. We're getting there, but we ain't there yet. I just want to check on our squash, but I'm gonna have to toss that at some point. The question is, do I want to start this a little sooner than I have to? But I think I'm close. I think this will actually come together pretty well. So I just want to make sure I have everything kind of out of the way. I'm in a semi-clean environment here. Where's my spoon? See? Lose stuff all the time. Now, I don't saute too much anymore with olive oil, but today's going to be the day. Because I want to get a little bit of that crispiness. I also don't want to make it like too watery. So this is going to help us. Plus, we're going to get these mushrooms and sun-dried tomatoes in here, and you need a little bit of like an oil base. I'm going to add a little bit more so I can kind of like infuse those flavors. And sometimes like that infusion stuff goes really well. Like one of the things that I learned like really early on in cooking, and I talk about this all the time, like for me, getting more plants in, the easiest way to do it was actually to, oh, actually, let me open the window. Before I do anything, I'm going to open the window. Just in case, there's a little smoke in here. One time I set off the fire alarm. I mean, I'm sure everyone's done it at some point, but I set it off for the first time because I was grilling. What was I? Oh, no, I was making like a stir-fry dish. And I had this pan like ripping hot, and it smoked out the whole kitchen. I didn't have any windows open for some reason. But anyway, that being said, we're going to get this started here. I think our water's boiling. It sure sounds like it. Okay. So we're going to toss this pasta in. Oh, I needed that. Oh. So I'm just using whatever. This is a chickpea spaghetti because I couldn't find linguine. But this will work fine. Some of these are getting better, I must say. These kind of bean-based ones, they're actually pretty good. The best ones in texture seem to be, I think, the brown rice ones, but yeah. Anyway. With that in mind, so we'll get this going. What I am going to do is towards the end of this cooking process is I'm going to use one of these bowls that I have and save some of that water. I'm going to kind of scoop it out before I actually end up using it. Now we're just going to saute this down. I'm just going to add a pinch of salt. I can actually turn that camera down a little bit. So you can kind of see a little bit more of what's going on here. We're going to let this go for a couple minutes. Oh, Indian. That's what I was talking about. Indian cooking. Okay, so I don't know if I mentioned this here before, but like when I started including more plants, one of the things that I wanted to do, because it's important to me, is, you know, flavor. How am I going to make this fun and enjoyable to eat? And for me, the biggest help that I got was actually discovering Indian cooking. Because a couple things. One is from a dish that from constructing a dish. They have techniques that I think you can add a lot of flavor very quickly. But at the same time, many times actually, it's all done in like one pot, which to me, as someone who was like trying to learn things from scratch and using ingredients that I wasn't familiar with, like I didn't want to go too far too quickly. But what it did teach me to do is A, use spices that I wasn't familiar with, but B, it allowed me to learn how to develop flavor in ways that I just never did before. Like sometimes toasting aromatics like whole seeds, maybe like cumin seeds or fennel seeds or peppercorns, or like whatever you're using to try to build that flavor, you can do that while or before you get to adding a lot of your other ingredients. So you end up building like an underlying layer of flavor before you even get to what you're going to make. And that allows you to really build and enhance, you know, bringing that dish together and making it make a little bit more cohesive sense. And for this, we're going to do that kind of after we get this onion and garlic a little more done here. Now I'm going to move this back a little bit so I can pop my squash out, just give it a toss. This has been in, I think, for about 10 minutes. It's not done, but it's getting a little bit of that brownage that we want. I just want to give it a toss so it all kind of cooks fairly evenly. And just spread it out enough so, again, this gets like an even roast. Whew. All right, this gets hot quick. I like it. But yeah, a lot of moving parts lately. Normally, I don't like doing this in Oh, what's going on, Gilbert? I don't like doing this towards the end of the month, but been a lot of crazy stuff going on, trying to plan a wedding, because we had to change locations because of all the mandates and stuff. It's been a hectic ride, man. Trying to do all this, and it's finally kind of coming together. But it's taken a lot of work in honestly just like a few months to literally find a new location and just been wild. So, and then obviously in the background trying to build out, get our sauces out there, which already looks like there's going to be a delay. Unfortunately, I didn't talk about this before, but our co-packer looks like it's going to be delayed, which is a real bummer because I really wanted to get this stuff out there. So I don't know if we're going to look for alternatives. I don't know what's going to happen because I really don't want it to be like May or June, and that's when we're coming out with something. But as with all things in business, they don't always necessarily function on your schedule. And the question is, as always, like, do you fold and buckle, or do you try to find a new way to get around it? And it's unfortunate because I really like, the co-packer that we're going to work with. It's just they're trying to get, I guess, new equipment, and it's not going to be ready before May. And we were looking at, honestly, like a late March, early April release. And that's obviously not going to happen. At least if we go with him, I would like to continue to work with him. But maybe there's a way we could get a first batch done with another co-packer. I honestly don't know. We have to really go through the options. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that I honestly don't know what's going to turn out. And I literally was just on the phone before, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. Now, what I have here, we're talking about building flavor, is I got some tomatoes. I got some sun-dried tomatoes that we're going to add. Again, build a little bit more. That flavor I'm talking about. But also, we're going to add some sage leaves. Because what is a pumpkin or squash sauce if you don't add sage? And this is pretty dope. So this is very cool. So I don't know if you guys saw, but I actually got an indoor garden. I'm going to just leave this alone for a second. But look at all these herbs I got. I don't know if I could bring this all the way over there, but I got like parsley and sage and mint and fennel and oregano and scallions, and there's kale over there. So I'm actually like using some of the stuff that I'm growing like indoors in my cooking, which is very damn cool. So there was a few more over there. Some of them got crowded out, but that it's very cool that I get to like pick my own sage, like literally right over there, and then use it right here. Now I also picked some more sage because I want to make some like crispy sage to put on top of this. I could also pick some other stuff later. Maybe some parsley to like garnish this, but again, we want to like infuse this oil a little bit before we add those mushrooms. Now this should be close to done. And yes, this is pasta for whoever asked. Okay, that is close to done. So what I'm going to do, I had a ladle. Where is it? That's where it is. Okay. So I'm going to scoop out a little bit of this water. Probably like another scoop. And this is going to be more than I need, but I'd rather have more because I'm about to dump the rest of it. Now, again, one of these tricks, because this is done, so I want to kind of bring this over here. I'm going to give this a stir very quickly, because I don't want to overcook my pasta. That's a surefire way to lose on chop. Believe me, I've watched enough of it. Okay, so let me shut this off, because we're going to use this pot. But what I'm going to do is dump this into a strainer. I'll bring the camera over in a second, because this sink is a mess, but I'm going to dump this all in, most of it in. And then, because you want to stop the carryover cooking here, is we're just going to rinse some cold water on it. And I'm not worried about that. We're going to make this warm again with our sauce. So that's not too much of an issue. But we got to rinse it so it stops cooking. Because if it keeps cooking, then by the time we serve it, it's going to be kind of mushy. And especially with some of these like bean pastas, is sometimes the texture goes, it's a little bit finer. That'll be a little bit more, I guess, precise with your cooking of them. They're not as forgiving, I guess is the word I'm trying to find here. So they're basically just going to be cooled down to room temp. I'm going to leave them there. This smells freaking amazing. So what we got to do is add our mushrooms. So we got a bunch of shiitake mushrooms. That's going in. Again, just a touch of salt. You know what? Like, we used to not have space. So, like, I had like a windowsill, like small herb garden at one point. At one point, we had a small backyard where I was growing like mint and basil. And you just kind of like do with what you have. Now, obviously, moving out of the city and out of Long Island, like afforded us a little bit more space. And the one thing I wanted was an indoor garden so I can just have like my own herbs that I can grow. Some of those, when I get more kind of seedlings, I do want to get like lemon balm and basil and things I didn't get this time. What I wouldn't get, because I ended up getting a few different types of spinach. And I mean, it was definitely an error on my part. Like I ended up crowding out a bunch of the spinach. So what happened was, because the fennel shot up so quickly and mint grows like wildfire, parsley too, is it kind of crowded out these spinach plants, and the spinach plants never made it. They never actually got enough light. So you make some errors sometimes. Some of the hardier herbs do very well. Like mint, you can grow in probably like anything. Mint is like super hardy. You could grow it in pretty much like any environment. Cilantro is a little bit more delicate. Basil usually grows pretty well. If you get some decent light, you could do it indoors. Parsley grows really well. So like certain things you could do inside. One thing I really want to do inside that is also forgiving, woo, that's hot, is lemon balm. But next time. Okay, I want this like a little bit more tender. So a couple more minutes. So we're gonna let that go. Oh, I did, by the way, throw in my, oh no, I didn't throw them in. One thing I have to do is add these butternut squash seeds. So we're going to roast these in the oven. Again, just didn't want to put them on a baking tray, so I put them on a Pyrex dish, but we'll make that kind of come together. Want to get like a nice sear on these mushrooms here. And kind of while that goes, you can do some housekeeping in the background. Okay. I have tahini out still. I don't know why. Oh yeah, mushrooms. Pumpkin in the oven. Yeah, so it's butternut squash, but pumpkin, you can easily swap that in. You can really use any squash you want. They're all going to work. Butternut squash is just the one that I wanted to use. Honestly, it's my favorite to cook with. Pumpkin's good. I just like butternut squash more. But any squash can really swap in. What I want to add a little bit to this, is some smoked paprika to kind of bring a little like smoky flavor to this. So I'm going to let this kind of cook in a little bit. Smoked paprika, if you guys have been around, you guys know like smoked paprika is probably my favorite herb to cook with. I just think it's super versatile. Like, and you can use it in so many different types of dishes. And like, to me, like if you miss, I guess, having meat or you're trying to get like that type of flavor, sometimes smoked paprika is that ingredient that you're like, oh, that's the flavor that I wanted. And for me, like 7 times out of 10, that's usually the spice that makes the difference. That is like, that's usually that flavor that I'm looking for. Wow, that's good. Okay. All right. So this is coming along. It does need salt. It does need pepper, but that's fine because I know I didn't have that yet. What I do need to add, though, is I'm going to add a couple of cannellini beans to this, and then also to bring more flavor. I'm going to have to clean these bowls too. I'm just going to give this a toss here. Is add some balsamic vinegar to deglaze. This will bring like a sweet kind of element to this. And again, like I mentioned before, like balsamic vinegar, in my opinion, is one of those ingredients that like, it is a specialty item. So like, it's not something that like I use all the time. But if you're going to get it, it's worth spending the extra money to get a good one because the poor quality balsamic vinegars are really bad in terms of flavor. Sometimes they're like really, really watery. So like, I honestly don't even buy them. Like if I'm not going to use it, it's like, that's one of those things that in my opinion isn't even worth getting if it's not like a decent quality one. So now I'm going to add a little bit of salt, pepper. I have this big bag of black pepper that I'm using, but here we are. Because this is kind of what I got. So I got this huge bag of black pepper. I can't add a ton because some people don't like spicy food, but that's a talk for another day. What I am going to do though, while this kind of simmers down for a minute, and this is also what we're going to add our pasta water to in a second. But this is essentially our sauce. Wow, that is good. Oh man. So I'm just going to throw my pasta back in my pot here. And that's like perfect. So if I left that kind of where it was, or didn't touch it, didn't rinse it, that probably would have overcooked. Gonna add a little bit of pasta water here. And now we're really just gonna kind of wait for this stuff to infuse. Now while this cooks down for a minute, and we'll taste and season accordingly. That's pretty, wow. Cooking down, that balsamic vinegar is killer, I must say. Now our squash, we could do a quick, spoon test here. Is it soft enough? I think so. I can actually just try a piece quickly. So we're gonna pop this in with our pasta. Then I'm just gonna have to put this sheet pan down for a second. Let me just dump this in. Okay. And that'll cool off so I can clean that. That's fine. Now we're just going to taste this, and then we're going to add this to our pasta here. And I want to be delicate because I don't want to break down this squash too much. But I also like the consistency of this. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So sometimes you get lucky, and the first time things work out. Rarely, but sometimes it does happen. Ooh. So we're just gonna pour all this in our pot. I was thinking of adding this all to the skillet, but I'm making way too much. Because as always, I always make more than I need because that means I got leftovers. And I don't have to cook again. Which, as much as I like cooking, doing it 3 times a day is a lot. Okay. So quickly, I'll be right back because I'm going to rinse this pan. I'm going to use this. Then I got to heat it back up. So give me 1 second. Again, this is where having a crew or multiple cameras would be great. Because that means I can take you guys around, I can show you everything going on, but I only got 2 hands. And when I started that YouTube channel like almost 2 years ago now, that was the one thing I wanted. Like I would love to like not do the producing part of this and just do the cooking part. And that would have been a lot of fun. Now I'm going to use this again in a second, but what I am going to do, I want to let that heat up because I do have some more sage here. So what we're going to do is make like crispy sage to put on top. And if you've never had crispy sage, you should try making it. It's very simple. This is too hot though. Let me turn that down. Now I'm just going to stir this. So this is really our pasta dish right here. I'm going to get some parsley to put on top, whatnot. I just want to be a little bit delicate, which is why I'm using a wooden spoon because I don't want to break that much of our squash if I don't have to. But this is our sauce. This is pretty much what our pasta is. We just want to get some greenery to go around it to A, liven it up a little bit, but B, make it look a lot prettier. Because we're in the presentation game now. That's what it is. You gotta make this stuff look pretty. All right, so this is, I think, hot. It's hot enough. So we're gonna add, again, a little bit of oil. This is not something I usually do, but why not treat yourself once in a while? So we're gonna wait for this to get hot. This should be hot fairly quickly because this one's already hot. I also need to, while that kind of heats up for a second. I do need a bowl to serve this in. So, gonna rinse that off. I'm gonna grab my serving. Oh yes, crispy sage. That's what we're doing. So these are just some whole sage leaves. And we're just gonna cook them down for a few minutes here. I'm gonna have to turn this on. So if you're feeling a little bit extra chefy, this is the way to do it. And we're just gonna let this sit for like a few minutes per side. Is it gonna be worth the splatter and the cleanup? I think so. Well, what is life if you don't take those risks? Okay. In the interim, while that's crisping away, I'm going to check on my seeds here. And some of these you can see are browning up. Just need a little bit longer. I wonder, give me a second. Let's see if I can get some more sage. Because it smells freaking amazing. Gotta turn this back up a little bit. Why not get a little more? With 2 people. Woo! I like that. Wow, and you can see this looks ridiculous already. What I'm gonna need is some tongs, so pardon my reach. Just to kind of flip. See, it's like little things like this, and I don't know, like for me, you know, growing up, well now especially, it's like I don't enjoy going out to eat as much because a lot of the times, and I don't mean to be like, you know, conceited at all, but like I don't understand why I would pay for something that I can make better at home. That's just kind of the way my mode of thinking. But this is like one of those things that like, yeah, it's a little bit of extra time and it's going to be a hell of a lot of extra cleanup. But for something like this, it's worth it to do once in a while if you really want like that restaurant type feel. And sometimes it's little things like this, I think, that kind of let you remember like, oh, I can do that. Or, oh, I can hang with any of these people in the kitchen if I had to. Or something like that. So, I don't know. Maybe for me, I don't want to say like it's a big ego thing because it's not. But like for me, if I'm going to try something new, like that's what it has to be if I'm going to go out. Like it's got to be something new and interesting and something that I haven't tried yet. And this looks freaking delicious. So, I'm going to take all our sage. I'm going to shut this off because I don't need this anymore. And then put that in there. Yeah, that cleanup's going to be annoying. But the last thing we got to do is build our salad here. So I got a dressing and I got a bit of arugula. And that's pretty much all I got right now. So I got to grab some. I think I have raisins somewhere. Oh, I don't. I got some. You know what? We're going to keep this a simple salad. We're going to keep this very simple. We got a dressing. I want to bring like the pumpkin or squash really and make this that the star. So very simple. Arugula salad. We have our dressing that we made. But the only thing we're going to add is those squash seeds. I'm sorry I'm in the middle. Wrong hand here. Is those squash seeds that we just roasted. Very simple. So you get like a spicy, bright arugula salad with more of like an earthy, you know, the sun-dried tomatoes. You get, you know, the mushrooms. And kind of like a cooler, crispier, I guess, peppery bite to kind of contrast. That's possible. Man, that's hot. So, just give our dressing a whisk. Normally what I would do is I would add the dressing first. Or sorry, I would make the dressing. This is a little chef trick that I learned was you make the dressing in the bowl first. And then you add whatever you want on top. And you toss. Instead of adding the dressing over the top. But that's just the way we did things today. Now what I should have did, if I didn't think this through, is I have some cabbage in my fridge, but I don't want to go in and shred it now. So this is the salad. 2 ingredients plus a dressing. Honestly, that's pretty simple because this pasta dish is a little bit more going on. So this is fine by me. And then it's just going to be a question of putting this together. But I want to make sure this is mixed properly. Because the last thing you want is a salad that's not, it's not tossed. You can toss your salad. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants that. Okay. So this is good. We'll serve that on the side. I need a bowl for that. I'll get to that in a second. We got our pasta bowl here. What do I need? I need a few things. We need our pasta, which I need to go grab. Oh, it's heavy. So that's done. We need our tongs I have. Sage. It'd be tough to top this with sage if I don't have sage. And that's pretty much it. We got this in the bag. So I'm gonna serve up some of this pasta. I'm gonna have to like reach around to grab some of these veggies, which is fine. There's some of the squash, some of the mushrooms, the beans, the sun-dried tomatoes. Kind of going over the top. Got a little bit more. Oh, I need a bowl. That's what I need. Need a bowl for the salad. Oh. We're going to top this with some of our crispy sage here. I'm going to grab, literally grab some parsley. So I'm going to give it a rinse quick. Also, because I want some heat. Oop. If I get this open. See how much producing is done in these before I hop on? I want some chili flakes. And then some fresh parsley that I literally just took off the stem. And we got our salad. So, and there we go. That's a full meal right there. So, left, let's take some pictures. So, that's what we got. I can actually bring it a little closer so maybe you guys can see. Is our final dish. Oh, this light is playing with me. Is this better? That I think is a little bit. Whatever. That is our final dish with the crispy sage. So thank you for tuning in. We'll be back at some time in March. I don't know when yet. Getting married in March, so it's going to be a little hectic. So probably after that. So after March 11th will be my guess. Probably that next week. Until then, see you guys on Discord. See you guys here. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, by the way, for next month, just DM me, message me. I'm more than happy to do it. All right. Thank you for hanging out. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.